What we're going to show you today is the insides of the HD. We're going to go through swapping out a clutch, the primary clutch for pedaling. So when you do this, it'll crank the bike, and when you go backwards, it'll freewheel. So some people are calling it freewheel, some people are calling it clutch. We're just going to go with clutch. So we're going to have to take off the crank arm and the chain wheel. We're going to start by, I'm actually going to use the crank arm while I have it on there to break these guys loose, the chain wheel bolts. Okay, so those are all loose. I'm going to go ahead and take my crank arm off. Oh, that was kind of loose. And we've got our little handy crank arm puller. So this just threads into the crank arm, and then you're going to rotate it around until the pin engages on the axle, and then it'll just force the crank arm off. So there it goes. Set that aside. I've already loosened these bolts, so should be able to just unscrew them. They're still kind of tight. Okay, so now we're ready to pull our chain wheel off. Just gonna wiggle it loose. Set that aside. Okay, so now we're gonna undo all these perimeter bolts. There's 6 of them. And since this one's a little bit dirty, I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe it down. We don't wanna get any dirt inside the grease, inside the drive, so you give it a quick little wipe down. You can see this bike's been well used. In some of our Luna videos, you can see this bike. Okay, so we got all our bolts loose. Now we're just gonna wiggle this guy loose so we can slide it out of there and get to the clutch inside. Okay, be careful on this one because there is a gasket right here that's not a thick rubber gasket like you would have on the controller, so you can break it. So you wanna make sure it's not hooked on the outer one, so you're pulling them apart. And once you open it up, you can see here's your primary steel gear, and the clutch rides right inside these teeth right here on the inside. So as you can see, if you move one direction, the pawls will catch, and then as you move the other direction, they can just lay down and go past these teeth. So in order to change the clutch, all you have to do is slide this guy off of there. And the easiest way that we've found is to actually slide the clutch. You want to make sure you got the right orientation. So hold it up to your inner gear where it's going to sit, and that would be backwards. It wants to be like this. So then take it, once you know that orientation, and put it on the splines of the shaft, because that's a little bit tricky sometimes to get it to line up on those splines, as you can see. I'm going to set this down. There you go. And once it's on there, we'll line this guy up. Make sure we've got our little hump right here lined up with the gear down there. And I'm grabbing the crank arm on the back side. Don't know if you can see that, but I'm lining up with the locating pins, spinning that crank arm, and then it engages the clutch into the big gear. So now we're ready to bolt everything back together, and we're done changing the clutch.